Hey guys, it's Brian with Frostbite Off-Road. We're back in the garage again. We're doing a quick update video, and we're also going to change up the look of the LJ. So last time we did an update video on the LJ, guys, it was going off to the shop. It was going to get 40s and 1 tons. That's kind of on hold just for a little bit. Adam's moving shops out to the Troutdale area, just east of Portland. I'll put his info down below if you guys want to check it out. It's going to be Element Off-Road now out there. So once the new shop goes in, Jeep's going to go on the lift, and we're going to get those 1 tons on. In the meantime, we got a pretty cool trip planned. We're going to head out to Idaho, and we're going to do an overland trip. That's a little new for me, but we need to get this Jeep out of stock form so we can go on that trip. So we're going to start with some wheels and tires. We picked up some takeoffs. Let's go ahead and take a look at how to put those on. All right, guys, let's take a look at what we got. So this is going to be a Gladiator JT Rubicon takeoff wheel. So this is a 33-inch. These are wheels off of a Gladiator, a 2021. They've got the Falcon Wild Peak mud terrain tires. They're in really good shape. They got lots of tread. So we picked up 4 of these. We're going to go ahead and put these on the Jeep. So these are quite a bit taller. I want to go ahead and get some measurements so you guys can see the difference. I also want to weigh them because they do weigh quite a bit more. 3 of them balance great. 1 of them's got quite a bit of weight. We'll show you guys that. But in order to get these on, these are a 5x5 bolt pattern. The TJ and the LJ are going to be 5 on 4.5. So we picked up some wheel spacers that are actually adapters as well. So we picked up these guys from Rough Country. They are nice aluminum spacers. They're hub centric, which is important. You want to make sure you get hub centric. And one of the reasons why I went with the Rough Country ones, the entry price was pretty good. They also had really good reviews, but they're also 1.5 inches thick. The Spider Tracks ones, which are the ones I normally run if I was going to keep them on the Jeep for a while, are 1.25 inches. So I wanted just a little bit more poke out for the offset. They are still hub centric, and like I said, they had really good reviews. Main thing's going to be putting these on right. We're going to put these on, make sure they're torqued to spec. We're going to make sure we put some red Loctite on these guys, and then check them again in 500 miles. So let's go ahead. We're going to get the stock wheel off the Jeep after we measure it, throw this guy on, get it all bolted on nice, and then we'll get the Rubicon wheels on. I'm really excited to show you guys how it looks once those are all on. Should be pretty cool. This is the one that I said took quite a bit of weight. You can see quite a bit in there, and then it's got some on the opposite side down in there. I'll show you that, guys, here in a minute. The rest of them balanced out with not much weight, which I'm pretty excited about. This one that's got a lot of weight on it is definitely going in the rear. Let's go ahead and get the tape measure out. Looks like we're right at 28 inches. And this is an aftermarket tire, not what came on these. This is a Nexen 30 by 9.5 R15. And it is kind of more of a street tire for sure. So we got that trip coming up. We're going to be doing quite a bit of off-roading, not wheeling too hard, but we are going to be wanting some additional traction. So that mud terrain tire on the Wild Peaks here will be quite a bit better. It does have a pretty aggressive tread to it. We'll see how loud they are in the vehicle. I also want to do a little test drive after I get these on and let you know how it's driving. I imagine it's going to be quite a bit slower, and we're going to feel the weight. So let's go ahead. We'll weigh this one. We'll pull this guy off, weigh this one so you guys can see, and then get the new one on and see what it measures out to. Okay, guys, we went ahead and got the 30-inch factory wheel off. We got the scale out here. Let's go ahead and throw this guy on there, and then we'll test out one of our Falcons with the JT wheels. I was just curious what you guys think the difference is going to be. I bet they're at least 30 pounds difference, but let's check it out. So it looks like right at 52 for the 30-inch tires. Now let's see what the Wild Peaks weigh in at with the JT wheels. $84. That is 32 pounds more a corner. So that is definitely going to affect our acceleration. But like I said, this is a very temporary setup. That's why we went ahead and went with the Rough Country spacers. These are going to be on the vehicle for about a month and for 1 trip. So they should do the job. We're going to have the extra traction. We'll be able to air down, use the sidewall on these a bit more, and get down those rougher roads and any obstacles we come across on that overland trip we're doing. So we're going to go ahead, we'll clean up the mounting surface here, We'll take a little wire wheel to it and get our spacer on there. We're gonna make sure to use red Loctite and get them torqued to spec. All right guys, so we went ahead and threw on some safety goggles. Got our little wire wheel here. We're gonna go ahead and clean up that rotor so we got a good flat mating surface. Get that all nice and clean and we can throw that spacer on. Now that we've got that cleaned up a little bit, let's go ahead and get the spacer on there. We're gonna get that red Loctite and we're gonna make sure we get those torqued down to spec. All right, looks like that's mating up nice. There's no weird wobbles or anything. So let's go ahead and we'll pull off the provided nuts here. We're gonna put some red Loctite on them and we're gonna go ahead and put them on the factory studs here and get them torqued down to spec. Like I said, we're gonna come back in 500 miles and check all these. You'll probably wanna, when you check them, you'll probably wanna do a couple foot-pounds less than the actual torque spec. That way you don't re-break your red Loctite that's on there. But these should be nice. And like I said, they're hub-centric. So that'll be nice so that JT wheel will fit on there nice and we don't have to worry about any weird shimmies. So let's go ahead and we'll get this guy torqued down and then we'll see what those wheels look like. Okay, now that we got those tightened in a star pattern, we're gonna go ahead and get the torque wrench. Just wanna double check that that's on there nice and flush. You don't have any weird gaps, anything like that. It looks pretty good. And we did Loctite them all really good. So factory torque spec is, they give you a range in the manual. It's like 85 to 115. I'm gonna go with 90. That's what we did all the JK stuff at back in the day when I had JKs. So we're gonna go ahead and do those at 90. These are also wet because they do have the Loctite on them. So you wanna go a little bit lower on the torque specs when the threads are wet. So let's go ahead and get these torqued down to 90. We'll do the star pattern again. It's a 19 millimeter. Then we can go ahead and throw that wheel on. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and torque all these down. It's helpful to have your helper hop in there, put their foot on the brake for these front ones. That way this isn't spinning on you. The rears won't spin. You just gotta worry about the fronts. So let's get those torqued up. All right guys, those are all torqued to 90. Like I said, we're gonna come back and check these in 500 miles. I'll probably check them at 88. That way we don't break that Loctite again. As you can see, we put quite a bit of that red Loctite in there. So they're definitely wet threads, so you don't want to max it out all the way on the torque. But we are sitting nice and flush. One of the things I wanted to show you guys while we have an extra spacer off the Jeep here, one of the most important things with wheel spacers is to get them hub-centric. So what we want to do is make sure that the weight's not on the wheel studs, it's going to be riding on the hub. If you go ahead and take a look, this is that factory JT wheel. It fits in there. And it'll shimmy side to side in there, but it's not got any play on the hub. It fits perfectly in there. So the way the wheel's gonna ride on that hub and then on the inside of that wheel there. So you're not gonna have to worry about any play on the studs and breaking off studs and stuff. Some of the cheaper ones you can get on Amazon, they're about half the price of these. They don't have that hub-centric feature, and that can be kind of dangerous. I actually did see a guy in an LJ when we went down to EJS in Moab. He trailered his LJ down there and then went and got on the trail and broke some of these studs off as soon as he got back on the highway. And we were helping him take them off in the middle of the parking lot at night, and he had the cheap Amazon ones that weren't hub-centric, and they looked like they were Chinese. I'm sure that's where these ones came from, but these are a little bit better build quality. So let's go ahead and we'll get this wheel mounted up on the Jeep and see what it looks like. Okay guys, now it's on there. This looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and get it lowered down. We did snug them up a little bit. We're gonna lower it down and get our measurements and get these torqued to 90 foot-pounds. Okay guys, moment of truth. We're gonna lower this guy down and see how she looks. All right guys, that is a big tire and a little hole. So we've got all of about 3 fingers of gap here. So not much gap there. Like I said, we are going to put a 2 or 3 inch lift on this to gain some room. I do think it looks really good though. Let's go ahead and see how much poke we have. So with the other setup, we're sitting about flush. This one's poking about the outer lug there for you. So definitely a little more aggressive. glad I went with the 1.5 inch spacers. If you take a look at the other side here, they're almost flush. Yeah, that is definitely more aggressive. We should definitely get the added traction we need for that overland trip that we're doing. It's also a little bit more aggressive on the stance, poking out just a little bit, which is nice. I like that. That 2 or 3 inch lift is definitely going to be necessary. There is not much room in there. Once we get them all on, we'll go ahead and crank it lock to lock. I'll show you if it clears up there though. But this is a pretty good reference if you guys are doing these takeoffs off a JL or a Gladiator. This is about how it's going to look stock. And I actually prefer these darker wheels with a little bit of machining. I think they look pretty good on the older Jeeps. So let's go ahead, we'll slap the other 4 on and I'll let you know how it is. Let's go ahead and measure this guy real quick though. Okay, so with the weight of the vehicle on there, we're at 32 1/4, almost exactly there. Definitely more aggressive. We'll definitely have more ground clearance. Let's see if we have turning clearance as well. But I think this is a pretty great start. Let's go ahead and get the rest on and we'll check it out. All right, we got the rear and the front on the passenger side. So this is about how much clearance you're going to have in the rear. Not much, about a hand, with more clearance on the front. That front's looking pretty tight there, but these are looking good. I like how much they're poking out in the rear there. That's pretty cool. Let's go ahead and look at the other side for comparison. There's a good 3 or 4 inches more wheel well gap here on this side with these smaller tires. So we're definitely going to need at least probably a 3 inch lift to get by here, but it looks good so far. Let's go ahead and we'll get the other side put together and we'll let you guys see what it looks like at the end. So as you guys can probably see, making a little bit of contact there on the inside of these lugs. Nothing in the back though. Nothing in the back as far as I can tell. So that's good. So it looks like the sway bars are only contacting. I guess when it's lifted a little higher, hopefully this is out of the way a little bit more. But right now, that's just full lock. Driver will hit a little bit there. So we'll check it out once we get all of them on and see if normal daily driving it's rubbing it at all. I got used to having a slightly limited turning radius when I had the Ram Assist on the JL, so not a huge thing. We're not lock to lock all the time. So all right, let's go ahead and get the other side on. This is looking great so far. So real quick, I want to just check the passenger side now that we got the new tires on. About 21 inches there. The rear, let's go ahead and check it on the other side. 19 1/4, almost 19 1/2. Nice. That's nice. So we gained a decent amount of ground clearance as well. This is one of the ones going on the rear. This is the one that took the most weight. We've got some stick-on weights there, quite a bit of them. And then we've got some clamp-on the lip here. Quite a bit of those as well. So this one's definitely going on the rear. That way if we do have any kind of crazy shimmies from it, we're not going to feel it as much. We're just going to wrap up the driver's side here, get that last front one on, and we will be all done. And then we'll show you guys the final result. All right, guys, we've got all 4 JT Gladiator Rubicon wheels on the LJ. Let's go ahead, we'll take it out to open lot so you guys can see what it looks like on the Jeep. I'm pretty excited about this. We're definitely going to need a lift, but we've got more cool mods coming soon for this, so stay tuned, guys. Let's go ahead and check this out. All right, guys, so first impressions are pretty good. These tires definitely make a little bit more noise, but they're not bad at all. I've had louder mud terrains for sure. I've had a pair of Goodyear MTR, the Kevlar ones, and those were super loud. These aren't actually bad at all. I was a little concerned about that one in the rear that had a lot of weight on it, but doesn't seem to have any weird vibrations. I've gotten it up to about 55 miles an hour. The speedometer is off a little bit, so when it says 50 on the dash, I'm really going about 55. I checked it with Google. So about 5 miles per hour off at 50. So, so far I'm pretty happy with how these ride. They're at 35 PSI, which is probably a little high for the LJ. I could probably drop that down closer to 30. You can always do the chalk test if you need to make sure you're getting good tire contact so you're not wearing them funny. But so far I'm really impressed with these tires. I've never ran these before and they were quite heavy. As you guys saw, this combo was over 80 pounds and the other setup was closer to 50. So they are quite a bit heavier, but I don't have any weird shakes in the steering wheel. The noise in here in the cabin's not bad. As you can tell, it's not howling real bad or anything. Like I said, the speedometer's a little off. Steering wheel's not shaking weird or anything, which is nice. So far I'm really happy with how these turned out. I think they look great. They're kind of a dark charcoal color with some flake to them on the wheels with a little bit of polish. I think this particular set of wheels you can get off a newer Jeep looks great on these older LJs. So I think this was a pretty cool setup. The 1.5 wheel spacers adapters from Rough Country put it out just far enough that it looks good, and we've got pretty good clearance. The only place it was a little tight was on that sway bar in the front at full lock. Now, pulling in and out of the driveway, I didn't notice it, but if you're going into a tight parking spot, you might. I'm not planning on off-roading it at all in this current state. I do, like I said, want to put a 3 or 4 inch lift on it. Probably try to keep it as low as I can for that overland trip we're planning on doing, just so we get some more payload. We've got some bumpers and a winch and stuff we're going to put on, so we're going to be adding some weight, plus the cargo we need for at least a week of camping out of the Jeep. So, first impressions, these tires are really nice. I'm glad I don't have any weird wobbles. They're not overly loud. The braking's not bad. Acceleration, you can tell they're heavier, but they're not bad at all. I don't feel like I need to re-gear. I should mention that my Jeep is the 4.0 inline 6 with the 4-speed automatic. So that's the 42 RLE. And I do have 373s in the gearing, so in the axles. So it's not the worst setup, but definitely could be a little peppier. My last TJ had 456s with the 3-speed automatic and 35s, and it was definitely a little bit peppier, but on the highway it screamed at like 3,000 RPMs. So this is a little bit nicer. Let's get it out here. I'm going to try to get it up a little bit over 55. See how it does, but so far it's great and I'm really happy with these. I'm gonna go to an empty lot here somewhere and we'll take a look and get some b-roll of how they look on the Jeep now. I do want to show you how much it's poking. It is poking a nice amount. It's not a full outer tread width out, but it's a good couple inches out of the fenders, makes it look a little bit more aggressive. I did also go ahead and pull off the factory flaps. It had some mud flaps front and rear, and then the end caps on the bumper. I think doing that and this wheel and tire setup have totally changed the look of this Jeep. So far I'm really happy with this. Let's go ahead and get some footage of how it looks on the Jeep, and we'll go from there. Thanks, guys. Okay guys, that's going to do it for this video. Make sure you go ahead and like and subscribe and share, comment down below, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks guys.